Welcome back to the Arcopia Show. This will be episode number 7. Today I'm going to dive into a little bit of economics and talk about what is value, or what has value, what makes things have value. There's a difference between value and price. Sometimes things will have a price but no value. Sometimes things will have value but a really low price. So, for instance, let's talk about even just knowledge. Knowledge is value, right? What's in your head, what you've trained yourself, all the books that you've read, all the things that you've listened to, that's very valuable. And does it have a price? Well, you need to monetize that value that you have to have a price. So if you have more value in your head, you should be able to get a higher price. But in economics, it's kind of a funny thing because there's price, value, intrinsic value, and it's a really complicated topic. So, for instance, let's talk about a bag holder. So in investing and things, like if a stock or something that you own goes to nothing price, what are you left with? So let's say, for instance, you invested in silver coins or gold coins and the price goes way down to almost nothing. You're left holding a bag of gold and silver coins. Pretty good, right? So those gold and silver coins, they always have value, whether they're other people see that they have value, but you can, like for silver, use it in medicine, in solar panels, in batteries, in electric vehicles. It's a commodity that always has value. Oil always has value. So what was it, a year and some ago, oil went to negative price. Okay, so they were giving away oil because they had so much above ground, there was nowhere to store it, and all the derivatives and fake trading and futures markets drove the price of oil to negative. So that's price and value. Like, what is a barrel of oil or a container of oil worth? It's always worth something. It has a use, right? Even though the price was negative. Now, when you talk about the so-called cryptocurrencies is the marketing name that they gave them, but what they are is digital tokens, essentially. So let's say you have a pile of digital tokens of whatever. There's 20,000 of these tokens out there. Let's say one of these tokens, like Shiba Inu or Bitcoin or Ethereum or Terra Luna or Celsius, the price goes to 0, and you're holding the bag. You have all these Terra Luna coins, okay? What's in the bag? What are you left with when the price goes to nothing and you have Terra Luna coins? You have nothing. You have a bag of nothing. So when it comes to preparedness and homesteading and life and things, like, what do you want to own in this world? So if there's a risk of being a bag holder, do you want something in the bag? What if, I don't know, the price of wheat goes to nothing, but you have a grain bin full of wheat? You still have the wheat, right? It still has a purpose. It still has value. It still can be used for animal feed. You can still make bread out of it. It has value in this world, as opposed to a crypto or something, cryptocurrency or digital token. What is the value of it? There's another thing, those NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So it's essentially, they gave it, again, a kind of a cool name like that, like cryptocurrency, non-fungible tokens. Well, it's kind of a digital JPEG, but you sort of kind of have rights to the digital JPEG, but you can go to all these websites and get free stock photos, and those are high-end photography photos for free, royalty free, right? Or you can get in a per month account, and you can download other people's high-end photos and video clips for very, very, very cheap. It's a digital picture or digital video that's essentially free. Okay, but non-fungible tokens, like some of them went going for, millions or maybe billions of dollars for a picture that anybody can save on their hard drive, a digital copy that's the same resolution, the same exact thing, but you don't have the classiness or the social cred or the rights to the original one. And it got to the point where somebody famous would have a tweet on the Twitter, and they'd like sell that tweet that was popular as an NFT, and then people buying them for ridiculous amounts of money. Well, if I was famous and I did some epic tweet or something, and it's such a stupid world that, you have this NFT. Well, I'm going to sell my tweet. Well, it's still my tweet. I did it. There's a date on it. It came from me. And you're letting somebody essentially have a screenshot of that tweet so that they can have piggyback off of some of your social cred for a ridiculous high price. It's, when all this stupidity collapses and there's bag holders, what are people going to have in their bag? They're going to have nothing. But there's another thing too. So there's price and value. So if the general public doesn't, we've been off a gold standard, for instance, for 50 years exactly, I believe, right now. So there's most people alive, they've lived in this fiat, fake paper. Nobody valued gold and silver. But if nobody values a gold coin, does the gold coin have value? Right? If the price of gold goes from $1,800 an ounce to $1 an ounce, does it still have value? Well, it's rare, it exists, it's proof of work. Like that gold coin had to be mined, refined, minted, cast into a coin. You had to pay to get it. It still has value no matter what. So even if the market doesn't realize, or people are in general too stupid to not also value things that actually have value, it's always worth something. So I'd rather, as a bag holder, if all these markets are crashing, would you rather hold a bag of food, a bag of silver coins, or a bag of digital tokens? You don't even need the bag to hold digital tokens because they don't exist. So from a preparedness aspect, it's like, what do you want to own in this world? So I'll give you my personal example. So the company I started is a freeze-dried food company. And our product and inventory is healthy, delicious, necessary to sustain human life. It lasts almost indefinitely, and it doesn't take much space or special storage options, and people need it. If they didn't have it, then they die, right? It's healthy food. So as a business, I didn't get into I'm going to start a cryptocurrency, or I'm going to start a digital smoothie JPEG app, or an app. There's an app that you can get on your phone that I guess it's free, but with ads, so they make money off ads. But you can pick your beverage and then hold your phone up to your mouth, and it'll sense where gravity is, and you can fake drink the beverage. So I didn't do something like that. No, I have something physical in the real world that people need to live. If they don't have it, then they die. For uranium, like for nuclear power, if you don't have uranium, then you're not going to have lights. And if the price is too low for uranium that it's not worth mining, then they're not going to mine or explore for more uranium. So eventually that's going to lead to the lights go out. So what do you think is more likely to happen? The price of uranium is going to go up, or are the lights going to turn off? Okay, so it's a value and price are different things. If you own a mining stock, for instance, so my perspective is I know what money is. I know economics. So money is gold and silver. It's a medium of exchange. It can be used as a currency, but it's also a store of value. So the dollars that we have in our wallets and in our bank account, those aren't money because they aren't a store of value. When the central banks and government can print more and devalue the dollars that you hold. So you don't want to hold that because the value of those goes down with the more of them flooding the market. But gold and silver are, you have to mine them, like with energy and things. It's like when you own a mining stock, from my perspective of knowing what money is and everything, it's like you're owning a company that's mining money. Okay, like actual money, when you understand what money is. But these mining stocks have been just killed the last couple of years in a high inflationary environment, and that's because the politically correct way I've heard it explained is the markets don't yet realize what's happening and what the end game is and things. And I'll just put it that most people are stupid, right? Like that's what it comes down to, that they don't understand. And maybe it's not their fault for being stupid. I mean, they grew up in this fake world. School didn't teach them a single thing. Like, I look back to, I was a high achiever. My parents raised me to work hard in school and do the best on the tests and be good at math and things like that. So I had record high marks all throughout my school until about grade 11-ish, when I started to become awakened. Like, this is dumb. All the information they're teaching me is complete useless. And it took me quite a bit of time to unschool myself and learn the proper information. So if you want to be a superhero in today's world, there's two things you should know: economics and psychology. And those are two things that you do not learn in the government indoctrination camps. So if you can learn that, it's like you have a superpower. But it's funny about, like, the West where I live. So, like, I'm in Canada, but people in the States as well. Like, there's these videos, or somebody will go on the streets of California. Mark Dice is the guy. He has some funny stuff, but he'd have a 1 ounce gold maple leaf coin, like 1 ounce of gold, and he'd like offer them either that or a nice chilled Hershey chocolate bar. And everybody chose the chocolate bar. And this is in the West. But in the parts of the world where the majority of the population are, like China and India, everyone in that culture, all of the population, for birthdays and holidays and special occasions and gifts, special gifts, they give and wear and possess real wealth, gold and silver. So in India, they'll wear their wealth. They'll wear a gold necklace and have like gold rings and silver bracelets and silver earrings, and they'll wear their wealth because it's a sign of wealth. They're wearing their real money. So the majority of the population, that's because that's where the majority of the population is, they actually value gold and silver, but in the West, nobody does or even knows what it is. So I don't know, it must be the brainwashing. Like, I feel sorry for the general public. Maybe it's not part of our culture. Like, Canada has no gold. We sold all the gold off. And allegedly, the USA still has a lot of gold stored away. Allegedly, nobody's ever audited Fort Knox or audited, do we actually have that gold still? Yeah, so what has value? Like, what do you want to hold in this world? So again, I have inventory of shelf stable, healthy food necessary to sustain life. So it actually pains me when I make a sale, because when I make a sale, it's still for these Canadian dollars, and it's like, why do I want these Canadian dollars? Like, I need some because I still have bills like property tax, insurance, licensing, barcode licensing, registrations, registrations on vehicles, and some utilities in minimal amounts, and some food and stuff. Like, I still need the currency because I still operate in the system, because other people don't realize. So it's kind of a funny thing. It pains me to make a sale, and I'm not price gouging. Like my smoothie has value, right? And this is just an example. Like, if you're an entrepreneur or business person, like, really consider what industry you're going to go in. Like, if you're going to take a risk and invent something and stock up inventory, so you have inventory that you can sell to your customers so they're always happy. Do you want to get stuck with like fidget spinners, digital JPEG tokens, invisible crypto tokens, child's baseball hats? I mean, I went to the human core, something that always has value, because I understand the value and price and intrinsic value proposition. So really give it some thought. If you're in a business doing something like silly, whether it's discretionary income, something people don't need but they might want, or a luxury item, consider starting something else that goes down to what people need, like food, housing, energy. So like a house, for instance, it always has a certain amount of value. Now, I think that they're massively overvalued, because when I look at your average house in a city or a town, a house has a property tax liability, it has utility liabilities, it doesn't produce anything. It's kind of like a consumer item. So it's a place for somebody to like park their vehicle, go inside, watch television, like consume television, consume food, and then sleep. That's the value that it has, as opposed to if you owned a production facility or a warehouse or a greenhouse or something that does production. That, like, in society, it's kind of a funny thing. Not many people maybe will value that. Like, I'm an odd duck. I have dreams about producing, and I don't have dreams about consuming. Like, lots of people, what are your dreams? I want to buy a Lamborghini. I want to buy this. I want to buy or travel. I want to consume. And I'm like, my dreams are like, no, I want to like build this thing that produces this other thing to help more people on an ongoing basis. And if I do that, then I should be successful. For instance, you can, in Western society, so if you have a public sector job that, whether it produces value or not, that's another thing, value for society. But like a judge, a nurse, a doctor, a city worker, a government worker of any kind, nobody pays taxes. They pay phantom taxes. They're net tax negative. They're being paid by taxpayers to perform the service that they provide that may or may not be essential for society. But if you have a government job that you're not a net taxpayer, that's the best to go get a mortgage. But you can't get a mortgage for agriculture land that produces value. You can't get a loan for agriculture shop. You can't get a loan for a greenhouse. But you can get a loan, if you have a government job, especially for a condo, because a condo is just consuming, right? And the banks like that you have a steady government job, because if the government runs out of tax collecting dollars, they just print it out of thin air. So it's like the most secure job until it all collapses on itself, which is going to happen. But the banks, they don't want to deal with an entrepreneur or something. Like if you're a small business and you have 6 employees, 20 employees, there's a really good chance that all 20 of your employees can go get a mortgage or a better mortgage than the entrepreneur that's employing those 20 people can get, because of the system that's really screwed up. But anyways, the banks love lending to employees, government workers especially, only on real estate that's a consumption, not a production. So this is what's so funny. Like, let's say something goes south in the world and you have, maybe you've seen my greenhouse videos, you want to do yourself a passive solar greenhouse. Okay, so again, it's difficult because you can't get a mortgage on it. You can't get financing of any kind. You have to like do it. But once that thing's built, you can produce things with not a lot of overhead. Or you can go buy a condo that doesn't produce anything. It doesn't even produce like its own water, energy, heat, or anything. It has massive condo fees and it has massive property tax, and it doesn't produce anything. So if something goes bad in the world, what do you want to own? A condo, consumer item, or a greenhouse producer item? So in economics, you have to produce before you can consume. That's what nobody understands in the West. Like the U.S. has a massive record trade deficit because of the general public and democracy and things. We have outsourced all production of all kinds to countries that essentially embraced a capitalism of sorts. So they're producing things, and then we purchase them by printing money and going into more debt. Oh, yeah, I don't know. So what country has value then? Is it the one that prints fake money and consumes? Or is it the country that produces the things and exports them to the other countries? So which country are you bullish on? Do you think there's a better future for the USA or China? So my money is on China. They produce everything. When China embraced capitalism 20 to 25 years ago, it took the whole country, like factories built and sister factories. So if you're producing a widget and you need parts for the machines to produce the widget or material for the widget, you can just go to existing factories and trade and capitalism in between them all. Whereas if you tried to do a widget in Canada, essentially, there is no sistering factories, no place that can maintain the specialized part or equipment. You can't get parts anywhere. All the parts are even imported. Nobody has even any inventory, barely. It's all last minute delivery because it's all consumer. We don't produce anything. So if you were to try to make the world better here and try to produce, but nobody else is, then it makes it really hard. So if you're doing a widget, you're going to have to get the equipment from guess where? China. And then you're going to get that equipment maintained by guess where? China. And the parts from China. And the pieces for the widget, guess what? China. So you have to like way overseas, because it would take a couple decades of a change of mentality in the general public and the the system for us to embrace capitalism again. So it's going to take multi-decades, essentially, if you want to not collapse. But I do think we're going to hit the brick wall full speed ahead in the West. So, like, what would you like to own? A factory in China or a condo in Canada, right? One produces, one consumes. Now, this economics whole topic is very, very complicated. Some of the best economists in the world that actually know economics, like Austrian economics, it's called, not Keynesian economics, not modern monetary theory. That's a theory and it doesn't work. Now, some of these things, they work temporary, right? So temporarily we can consume at the benefit of others, but it doesn't work forever because it's an unsustainable system. It's unsustainable in every single way. You have to produce something if you want to consume something. So in Canada, we do produce raw commodities. So we'll grow something or dig something up, and then we'll get it as fast as we can onto a truck or a train and then a boat, and we'll send it overseas to countries that are more advanced and have capitalism, so they can use those raw commodities to produce things that everyone on the planet needs or wants, and then we buy that back. So it is good to have the raw commodities, of course, but it's also good to have the production capabilities. So, like, what has value? The raw commodity does have value. The production facility does have value. Like, if you're looking to invest in somebody's company, you want, like, things that produce land, plant, equipment, infrastructure, inventory, low operating costs. That has value. A condo and a townhouse doesn't really have anywhere near the value that the price reflects, because it's just a consumer thing. So let me paint you a picture. Because this is unsustainable, just consuming and not producing, or consuming way more than we produce and running a deficit all the time, that let's say there's a townhouse for $500,000 and people are paying $500,000 to consume and enjoy this townhouse, but it doesn't produce anything. When stuff gets bad, that means we're not going to be consuming as much or not have the money, because it's just an economics thing. If we don't produce, then you can't consume. So since we're not producing, eventually, again, this works temporarily. It's like democracy works temporarily. Fake money, fiat money, works temporarily, but it's unsustainable in the long term. Eventually it ends. So what value is that townhouse going to have, right? It's a place that you can lay your head, and a place you can lay your head comfortably if you can also consume the electricity and natural gas and water and other people's food that they produced. But otherwise, that townhouse has no value. But when the stuff goes bad, if you have, if you worked land that's really good farmland and amended the soil and have a system and pieces of equipment where you can take production off of that land and have something that everyone needs, that has value. That will always have value. So price and value are different. So, that land might be priced low, but it has a higher value in the real world. But again, because the markets don't realize, everybody's kind of silly in this democracy consumerism thing, they value the condo that produces nothing, right? They value consuming, and zero producing. It's very complicated, all this stuff. But you try to figure out, like, it comes down to, what do you want to own in this world? Let's say it's catastrophic. The utilities shut off, the trucks stop running, there's no diesel, no uranium, no silver to make solar panels anymore, no, the whole system just stops, halts all of a sudden. So most people, they're tied to the internet. So if the internet goes, then you have nothing. So like online bookkeeping, for instance, or whatever, like QuickBooks Online, if the internet goes down, you have no bookkeeping or records of any kind. If your digital tokens that you invested in, like, go to zero, or that shuts off, you have nothing. If that $500,000 condo that you bought, if all of those inputs from the system stop, like I just said, what is that condo worth? That condo is worth nothing. Nothing. Like, it has no value. But let's say you put up some solar panels and stuff and did that ahead of time, and like I said, everything shuts down or something, or some hiccup in the thing, and you're producing energy. What value does that energy produce when nobody else has energy? A huge amount of value. If imports stop, if you can't get boxes, you can't get bags, you can't get oxygen absorbers or any of the inputs or machinery to produce things, what is all that stuff worth? A significant amount, right? Whereas most people, they'll have like designer brand name clothes with the logo, a specialized purse, a special kind of coffee maker, toaster, a fancy piece of furniture. These are all consumer things, and they have no value after the fact. Okay? So right now, they kind of have value for the consuming portion, and they likely have a high price. Like the brand name purse or the shirt, it probably has a high price, but very little value. And I guess you could say that there's different values. Like, if the general public are valuing all these, the social cred and stuff, but the general population does, then it's probably going to have a higher price, or they think it has value. So they think it has value, so it does kind of have value, but it doesn't have any intrinsic value. So that after things go south, if somebody spent $1,000 on a brand name purse, what is that purse going to be worth? Can you produce anything with it? Can it hold, little trinkets and items better than a $5 purse? No. So, it has a function to a sense, but if you're paying a high price, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has value. So again, these, mining stocks, for instance, they're massively, well, at this point, they're undervalued, okay, because nobody in society values them. Again, this is so complicated, it's hard to explain. These mining companies, that they're producing whatever it is, gold, silver, platinum, copper, uranium, they have value. They have production capabilities. There's a value there. So if it has X amount of value, but the price goes X minus 50%, minus 70%, minus 90%, but the value didn't change, or the value even got better, then the price doesn't reflect the value. So if it's a low price, then that's a good time to purchase that, because the price changed, but the value didn't. Oh, so complicated to even try to work it out. But at the end of the day, think about what you're purchasing, how you're setting up your life, what you're building. So for instance, I have a tiny house and a large shop, greenhouse, land, barn, because the house consumes nothing or produces nothing. That's where you you rest your head at night, essentially, and cook your finished meals and hang out a little bit. But the outbuildings and the other things, they produce things, they have a value. Okay, my house doesn't really have a value. Like my shop and greenhouse and barn and agriculture land, that has value. Like at the beginning of the pandemic, there's a run on toilet paper for some reason, right? Meanwhile, like I have the bidets, right? And, toilet paper stored ahead of time because I'm a personally responsible, preparedness-minded person. But what has value in a shortage like that? Well, toilet paper has value, right? But what has even more value is a toilet paper factory that produces toilet paper, right? So if there's a shortage of like everything, it was hard for me to get concrete. They're rationing concrete powder right now. So I almost didn't have concrete to do the greenhouse pour. There's shortages on vehicle parts. My Toyota Camry has been at Toyota for 3 months waiting on parts and a charger, and they can't get anything because nobody has anything. So it's, if you have a working good vehicle with parts to it, that has a huge amount of value. If you have a vehicle manufacturing plant, that has a huge amount of value. Stockpiles of consumer goods, and especially necessary to sustain human life, like down to the core, that has more value. Production capabilities to produce those things down to the human core that are required for humans to survive, that has significant value. The land to produce the raw commodity that goes to the factory to produce the thing that humans need, that has an extreme amount of value. That's like resiliency. So to be a preparedness-minded person, it's, try to, like, first you stock up, then you try to produce, and then you stock up on things that you need to produce, and then you get equipment that you would make producing easier. And then once you produce the one thing, if you have an input cost or you have to buy some food or some ingredient or something from someone else, maybe you consider like producing that ingredient as well. And every step of the way you get more and more resilient, you get a higher in value. But it's a difference between price and value. If nobody else seems to value it because they don't understand, then does it have value? It does. Would it have a low price? Yes, because other people don't value it. It's a funny thing, right? So in investing again, like Tesla, you would have thought Tesla made every single car and vehicle in the world, when in reality they only make a small percentage. But their stock valuation, because everybody, like, I don't know what its actual value in relation to earnings is, but they put such a high value on its future potential. It was worth like, the stock was worth like more than every other established car manufacturer, make and model thing, factory in the world, just with Tesla, that doesn't barely produce any vehicles in relation to Ford and GM and Chevy. So again, when that stock gets like stupid high, this doesn't have value in it. But because the market or is stupid essentially, and the general public stupid kind of thing, that they're like, I think it's a hive mind deal. So it's like, I'm putting my money in Tesla, and I'm gonna do too, and all the coworkers, and yep, Tesla, and then they drive that stock from hyper overvalued to like 3 times hyper overvalued, and then beyond. Or and this goes for so many different companies, right? The stock and the company would have a very, very high price, but no value. Like there's companies like I don't know, Uber, and anyway, so many different companies that they're not making any money whatsoever, and they have an astronomically high priced stock valuation. But is there any value there? It's like there is some, but not anywhere in relation to the price. It's almost, if you have a brain today, that means that you're a contrarian, which means you go against the public, right? The hive mind, the majority. So if everybody's like, buy Tesla, buy Tesla, buy Tesla, my instinct is to no, buy the opposite thing of Tesla, right? So, and it'll be interesting when people see eventually the monetary metals, when they eventually do their thing because they have a value and they have significant value in a failing currency system, and all the global currencies are failing type of thing. They're just devaluing them at a huge, incredible rate. But when people see silver go from $20 an ounce to $40 an ounce to $60 an ounce, they're going to be like you can't ignore that. So then the general public's like, what's this silver thing? Oh, price go up. So they're going to buy it. And eventually silver will go up, up, and up. And then when you see everybody talking, let's buy silver, 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 and all the mainstream media, and they're finally talking about it, that's the time that you sell silver, because that means it's getting overpriced in relation to its actual value. So, you know, it's a funny thing. It's a funny world. It's kind of frustrating too, because when you know something to be like 100% true, is it really true if the majority of other people don't, like, if it doesn't make sense to them? So if, you know, sometimes I feel like me talking 2 + 2 = 4, but then everybody else is like, no, 2 + 2 = 17. I'm like, well, no, 2 + 2 = 4. No, 17. 17, it equals 17. And it's kind of hard. It's like, well, you know what? Let's put all our eggs on 17, because the general public, that's what they think. Like, they're wrong. But are they wrong? Because they're all kind of like, maybe you get to the, like, 2 + 2, maybe does it equal 17? I mean, everybody says that it's equal to 17, and I keep saying it's 4. And then you kind of like, well, if I have 2 apples and then I have 2 more apples, like, how many apples do I have? It's like everybody's still like 17. Like, oh, yeah. Okay, I'll play. So it's almost like you gotta, like, I don't know, fit in and just agree that it's 17 and put all your eggs or invest on 17, not 4. Like, 4 is correct, but is it correct? Let's end that rant there. Thanks for watching or listening. Hopefully I don't lose too many subscribers from a crazy rant. That is a hard topic to talk about. Like, it is extremely, extremely complicated, and there's so many factors in economics. But in general, I think I have a good idea. And I do my thing. I always stick to 2 + 2 = 4, because it does. It does. Even the people that say it's 17, eventually it's going to revert to, oh, geez, 2 apples and 2 apples = 4 apples. It's going to revert to things like, yeah. So don't be a bag holder with Terra Luna invisible token coins. Don't be a bag holder on silly, overpriced consumer items not necessary to sustain life. Invest and accumulate resources and things and production capabilities that actually have value. And as things get bad, if that's your outlook on things, the worse things get, the better you will literally do. So if nobody's valuing something that actually has value, the thing that you have is going to appreciate in price and value when everybody else in the stupid investing in the stupid things, the non-existent things, they're going to suffer greatly. But you get ahead of the curve, and if you have something and you still can't sell it, but you have something that you're going to use in your life, or it's necessary for you to live your life, that's something has value and is valuable to invest in. That's kind of why I put such a high emphasis on being self-sufficient, because in this crazy world where you don't know what anything's going to do or how silly things are going to get, being self-sufficient and frugal and keeping your bills down and keeping your production up, not having too much currency change hands, doing things for yourself, growing your own food, not traveling too much, like set up a life where you don't feel the need to travel from. That's always your most resilient, that foolproof bet. So it's not just investing only in the monetary metals, gold and silver, because what if nobody ever values gold and silver? Maybe if we go into hyperinflation, people are going to still recognize and value the $20 bill for a long, long, long time, and they still won't know what gold and silver is. Because you think about it, if something goes bad in the world and they already don't know, thus don't value money, gold and silver, like, are they going to trade? Like, maybe you are better off in the barter system, so packages of freeze-dried food or bags of potatoes or jerry cans of diesel or boxes of ammunition for trading instead, because like all these things have value. But or maybe it's like stockpile video games or something, and that's what people want. I don't know. It's like the value price thing is a funny thing. And it's very complicated and very difficult. So that's why I say knowing economics and psychology is almost a superpower. So you have to get in the general public's head, like, what do you think is important? Like, if most people think Skittles are important, then maybe it's worth, stocking some Skittles back. I'm a member of all these freeze-drying Facebook groups, and there's lots of little companies like that start with the harvest rate freeze dryer. They'll end up buying multiple freeze dryers, but the product that sells for them is freeze drying Skittles. It's not freeze drying like organic garlic and fruits and vegetables per se. It's you have to produce what the people want. You have to give the people what they value, and that, if they value it, then it has a higher price in relation to what it actually is. So people obviously are valuing freeze-dried Skittles. So everybody goes into freeze-dried Skittles, and they make little companies out of it. So you take a sugar ball that has a brand on it, Taste the Rainbow, and it's chewy, and then they freeze-dry it, use all this energy and stuff, and then they make it crunchy, and then that's what people want. It's like Bitcoin mining and crypto token mining. Like, they use a significant amount of computer power and energy to create this digital token that, as far as I'm concerned, like, has no value, right? It's like, what is the value of an email? So with a crypto or a digital token, you can have it on an exchange or a code. Like, the biggest exchange in Canada was called Quadriga CX, was our biggest exchange for crypto. So as a test, I put in like $100 and then put it in Bitcoin and then traded it around to Litecoin and all these other things to kind of see how it works. And so you need this long number or passcode and whatever. But then Quadriga CX, the CEO, they said died, and they lost all the tokens, and all your crypto tokens were locked up, and everybody lost everything. So, like, this thing that you bought into that essentially has no value to begin with, you even lost that because, you know, there's no, your whatever you bought the digital token for, you probably use Canadian currency, that's gone, it's wiped out. But what is an email? You can set up an email account for free, and you can send messages, pictures over the internet, you know, a message that has value, or a note that has value, or a piece of information, or a photo that kind of has value, for free. It's completely free, as opposed to trading a digital token that has no value. There's no memo, there's no photo, there's no piece of information, and it costs a lot of money to do that. So what is an email, the price of an email? Well, it's free, right? So I guess if you compare an email to a digital token, you know, I guess a digital token is less than free. It's because it costs money to trade nothing. It's a weird thing. I value emails for their function. You know, blockchain might be used to, in some form in the future, as some sort of distributed record keeping thing for, like, the quantities of rice or other commodities or something like that, and you can trade them, like ownership of something that's actually has value and is actually real. So blockchain might have a value if it did something like that, but what is the value of it? It's about what an email is. So, yeah, what do you want to hold in the end of things? What, you know, if you're going to hold the bag at the end of the day, what do you want to be in the bag? Is it Terra Luna tokens, digital JPEGs, Skittles, you know, or, you know, real money, healthy food, solar panels, the ability to produce your own energy, you know, hand gardening tools if things get really bad, or insulation in your walls. You know, the average house is built standard. It's R20 insulation in the walls, R40 in the attic. That's standard building code. Or would you prefer R40 in the walls with extremely good windows, R80 in your attic? What has value? Society doesn't value passive solar built designed houses because nobody knows or cares, thus they don't value it. But what actually has value? A house not situated the right way that has a heating bill 4 times the size as the same house that's situated the right way? Like, what has value? I guess value is so subjective, and it's very difficult to figure out. But at the end of the day, think about what you want to hold. If you're going to put your money into something or buy something or store something, what do you want to hold? At the end of the day, what actually has value? So thanks for listening to that long rant. It's very complicated. Dive into it some more. Let me know what you think. Let me know if what I'm saying made sense. So have a wonderful day and take care.